Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Steen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story 7360300. Always the number to call. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
As you fight with your headphones.
I know it.
You know, in case folks wonder about all the antics that go on here during the show, rather than just hearing it, you can see it on our KLIXcast, which you will find on our website around noon each day.
That's right.
You can go there and you can watch it in the comfort of your home or office or wherever you happen to be.
You can see if we throw things at each other.
That's right.
Because, you know, sometimes...
You can see the stuff that Jill throws at me and,
please.
and abuses me. And
you can see when I take a slurp of tea and I try not to do it in the
too.
microphone, but I try to lean over. Sorry.
That's kind of one of those things. You know, there are some things that people do that just kind of irritate you, like they do their finger. Like that, you know.
Or maybe singing all times.
I'm
breaks.
Singing in the rain.
I do. I'll take it, but I lean over. Can you still hear it?
Not always.
Way?
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear it now?
Go ahead and take a sip. Oh, very good. If you could do all of them like that, that would be super.
I'm trying to do that better since you told me. You just never tell me.
I don't know.
You
that's
don't
just
share.
Kind of
we just don't talk anymore.
Yeah. You don't bring me flowers.
Where's the communication? I want a divorce as of December 31st. Oh, I'm getting one. Fine. All right.
Coming up at 8:30, we have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans. Mm-hmm. Coming up at 9, we have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. We're going to talk about a plethora of items today.
That's right.
Including citizens' arrest, how reliable are eyewitnesses, and some of the other stuff that we have planned for him.
We've got a list.
We found all that. We found a treasure trove this morning, so we didn't have time to email you,
Well,
Grant, in case you're listening.
Yeah, Grant. Yeah. Well, I keep stories and we'll say, oh, this would be good for Grant. So I keep them in my little pile. But, you know, when I leave yesterday, I don't really think to look at it because
so we went
today's
through it this
another
morning.
day.
That's right. We'll worry about that tomorrow.
And how bad was that rain this morning? Wow.
I was not in the rain, but I'm kind of glad because I put my pump and hoses up for my yard some time ago and it's getting a little dry, so I'm kind of glad,
it's helping,
that it rained a little bit. Yeah, I think most of the crops are in that would be affected by the rain. Sugar beets, stuff like that, you can still harvest when it's a little wet, but beans and things like that, I think most of the beans are harvested by now.
I don't know.
So
they have haystacks in our backyard, so I feel bad. It's going to get soaked, but whatever. But the rain was bad. I heard lightning. I heard wind. I heard pouring.
Yeah. We had one really big crack here this morning.
Yeah, we did.
Kaboom!
I know.
So one of those window rattlers. You know.
So anyway, like, be careful driving out there.
Yeah.
It's slick. Yeah. It's wet.
Well, we do have some news to talk about this morning. I don't know. Maybe first of all, I should mention Oscar de la Renta has died.
Yeah.
The iconic fashion designer. Was diagnosed with cancer in 2006, born in the Dominican Republic. He was kind of the designer for the stars and became a star himself, you might say.
Well, he said when he first started designing, the labels on your clothes were just the store labels. So it would be Macy's or Nordstrom's or whatever. And then I think he's probably one of the first to start putting his name on it. Then you're like, ooh, it's an Oscar de la Renta.
Yeah. So
ooh, it's a Gloria Vanderbilt.
So I'm going to go to my closet and see if I have anything from Oscar de la Renta. You don't think I even have to look.
If you do, I mean, are you kidding me? I would bet this on this one. Are you kidding me? If you do, that would be amazing.
Did he design men's clothes or was it just women?
That's what I was wondering when you first said it. I thought, well, maybe he did a few tuxes or something for men, but I don't think you have one of those.
Well, I'm pretty sure I don't have a tux hanging in the closet. In fact, I don't even have a suit hanging in the closet.
You don't have one suit?
No, I don't.
You don't have one suit?
Not one suit.
What if someone dies?
Well, I just put on my Sunday go-to meetings. I put on my cleanest pair of jeans and my cleanest flannel shirt, and away I go.
You don't even have nice dress pants? You do, too. You have some khakis. I've seen you wear once.
I got a couple of pair, I think.
What, are you going out in that?
I don't know where they're at.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. You're not going to that and that, are you? No.
It's
no.
a funeral.
I was just on my way to the closet to change.
Yeah, exactly.
With no new Ebola cases in 5 days, U.S. authorities were cautious but hopeful that the virus has been contained in the United States after a flawed response revealed shortcomings in the system. I saw a good headline this morning. It says, Nigeria now has one less case of Ebola than the United States. Nigeria is Ebola-free.
Is Ebola-free, and so is Senegal. But it's interesting because I think the news photographer is being sent home soon. He's doing really well, and the other nurse, I think she's doing well.
Well, the fiancé of a Liberian man who died of Ebola earlier this month in Dallas, Texas, was among nearly 50 people who emerged from 3 weeks of quarantine without any signs of illness from exposure to the virus that killed some 4,500 in West Africa since the beginning of this year. So I'm thinking if you have several people living in the same apartment as this guy who got it and died, and they did not even come down with it, I mean, that's pretty good news.
They had his sheets, his clothes, his towels. They cleaned everything out of her apartment. I heard all she has left is like her mother's Bible, a passport, and something else. Everything else is gone.
About 100 more people, most of them healthcare workers, are being tracked in Texas after coming in contact with the first patient diagnosed in the U.S. in late September. Still, officials said it was reassuring that no new infections had emerged in recent days. Those who are no longer in danger include a group of health workers and community members who may have had contact with the Liberian man, Mr. Duncan, Thomas Eric Duncan, between September 24, when he began showing symptoms, and September 28th, when he was isolated in a Dallas hospital. I don't know about the woman who was on the cruise.
Oh, she's fine. Her test came back negative.
Now all she has to do is get past the raging passengers on that ship.
I think I'd be the last one to debark.
You ruined our cruise! Wow.
I'd be the last one to debark. I don't think they even got to make their Mexico stop. I mean, really.
Yeah, or I know any of those.
You're like, thanks, CDC. Way to tell them, hey, by the way, there's someone who's, it's been 18 days. She's not symptomatic, but she's on your cruise right now. Thanks.
Yeah, and she wants to talk with you.
I think I'd call them and get a refund from the CDC, don't you? I think all of them should call and say, you just ruined my cruise.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, I think the hysteria is a little crazy.
Well, state health officials in Idaho say that they are staying on top of the new developments with the Ebola outbreak and are taking every precaution to protect public and healthcare workers. For the past month, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare has been organizing Idaho's healthcare system specifically for Ebola, according to Director Richard Armstrong. Health officials have stressed having care providers ask questions about a patient's travel experience and to learn if a patient with possible Ebola-like symptoms has returned recently from West Africa. He said it's in this highly advanced medical care that's important early on. It's somebody asking a simple question about travel and recognizing the significance of the answer, according to Dr. Christine Hahn, the state epidemiologist. That can be done at any hospital in Idaho, she said. So there you go.
Well, when you think about the scheme of things, 2 people contracted it in the U.S. Others, came here and were treated,
right.
But out of 300 million people.
Yeah.
That article I sent you yesterday was interesting. How many people have died from other things, and we actually have vaccines for those.
Yes. Well, in fact, the common flu kills, 3,000 to 4,000 people every year? Mm-hmm. And we're not panicking about that.
No.
And that is a respiratory
And it is airborne.
disease. Yes. So,
airborne, yeah.
Anyway, we do have some other news here. Oscar Pistorius was taken away in a police van after being sentenced to 5 years in prison for killing his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp.
They said he could be eligible for home arrest after 10 months.
10 months, yep. 10 months.
Does that sound like that was justice? 5 years for killing your girlfriend?
I don't know. Well, in delivering the sentence, the judge cited the gross negligence the double amputee Olympic runner showed when he shot Steenkamp multiple times through a toilet cubicle door in his home.
You think?
Yeah, so if he...
I mean, he's sort of gun happy anyway. He shot a gun in a restaurant. He shot a gun out of the sunroof of his car. The guy doesn't seem like he should be responsible with guns, and to shoot someone without knowing where someone is in your home.
That's
To
pretty
me,
much inexcusable.
I don't think the man should ever handle a gun again. It doesn't sound like he can. How could you not know where your girlfriend is if that's his defense? I think he actually got in a fight and shot her.
Might have.
Why would she be in the bathroom door, locked behind the bathroom door with 2 phones in there at 3 in the morning?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was his celebrity that probably got him through a lot of that.
You think?
The only 10-month sentence.
Well, 5 years, and then in 10 months he can then have house arrest, which...
You're not a big soda drinker.
I don't drink soda at all anymore.
No.
I think I stopped drinking that 11 years ago.
But I do know that many of you might be soda drinkers. Listen to this, and you've probably heard this before. A new study looked at whether America's thirst for soda speeds up how the body's cells age. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco used a sample of 5,300 healthy adults. Dr. Elissa Epel worked on the study for 5 years. She said, "We think we can get away with drinking lots of soda as long as we're not gaining weight. But this suggests that there is an invisible pathway that leads to accelerated aging regardless of weight," said Dr. Epel. The shorter the telomere, the less a cell can regenerate, thus aging the body and raising the risk of disease and early death. This finding is alarming because it suggests that soda may be aging us in ways we are not even aware of. Researchers found no link in cell aging, however, when drinking diet sodas and fruit juices. Concerned about possible health effects, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg lost a high-profile court battle to ban large sodas there. They said, "I've got to defend my children and you and everybody else," said Bloomberg. So at any rate, if you drink lots of soda, that's just one more thing to consider. And I know how it is. We make a joke that such and such causes cancer now. That is, if you drink 1,000 gallons of it every day for the next 50 years, you might come down with cancer. You know, we kid about that a lot.
Well, one of the byproducts in the soda, it breaks down into formaldehyde. So it almost seems like your cells would stay the same.
It almost seems like they would be, I can't think of the word.
Preserved.
Well,
that's what I've heard about some of the people in Switzerland where they bury them on top of each other.
Yeah.
They're not breaking down or decomposing.
Yeah.
So, you got to think you are what you eat, and what you drink or eat today makes tomorrow's blood. So think about that.
Yeah, we got some more news to talk about, too, coming up. So stay tuned. We have Steve Millington at 8:30 from the Twin Falls Republicans. At 9 o'clock, we have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs right here on Top Story.
Thanks.
736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. I just wanted to say, you've heard us talking about the Low and Honey Loader from Stanley and Company, and the Low and Honey Loader capable of loading all types of manure from liquid to frozen to dry, fast loading up to 7 miles an hour. And if you want to see one of these in operation, get a hold of Pat Hartzell at 280-1167. He can set you up. Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company. He'll make an appointment. You can go watch one of these in operation, make a decision. And these aren't for everybody. I don't have one because I only have 2 dogs. But there are some folks around who have lots and lots and lots of livestock. So a Low and Honey Loader might be in your future. So get a hold of Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company at 280-1167. There is a new study out. There's always a new study. We always have to talk about new studies. Actually, we should probably talk about the hack. We've been talking about
our hack of the week.
Hack of the week.
That's right.
All I have to do is find it. I thought I had it here on my list, and I can't find it. Did I give it to you?
You always say that.
I know
you
it's here
have
somewhere.
it. You have it. I don't have it. Da da da.
Oh, here it is. I found it.
Staples.
It's in one of my
the
many,
hack
many
of the
piles.
week.
Staples is the hack of the week. The largest
Brought to
office
you
supply
by
retailer.
Staples. No,
Yes.
brought to you by Office Max.
Yeah. And anyway, they said yesterday they're investigating a potential issue involving credit card data at its stores. Now, last week, I don't remember if we had a hack last week, did we?
I
The
don't
week
know.
before, we had 2 of them.
So that made up for the one.
So that made up for last week. So now
I was gone
this
Monday
week,
and Tuesday,
and
so I
it's
don't know.
and it's early on in the week, so we still could have another one. But Staples, anyway, spokesman Mark Cotella said in an email that the retailer has contacted law enforcement to help with this investigation. Cybersecurity reporter Brian Krebs reported Monday night that banks have identified a pattern of fraudulent debit card and credit card transactions at a small number of Staples stores across the Northeast, including 7 locations in Pennsylvania and at least 3 locations in New York City. So, you know what? I just kind of repeat my mantra. I'm going back to cash. Yeah, I haven't actually done that yet.
No,
it's
you
just
haven't.
too cotton-picking convenient.
Because there's nothing in that wallet when you open it up.
That's right.
There's nothing in there.
And what is in there is squinting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
it's not coming out anytime soon.
If confirmed, a credit card breach at Staples would mark the latest in a string of cyber attacks against major retailers, including Target, Neiman Marcus, and Home Depot over the past year. It's kind of interesting. They did a study. Nearly half of the people, 45%, who responded to a recent survey by creditcards.com, said they would definitely not or probably not shop this holiday season at retailers that have acknowledged breaches of customer credit card data.
And then you think perhaps they might be the most secure.
That's what
it's
I'm
like
thinking.
When a plane goes down.
That's right.
That's the most checked model. That's the
Yep.
most checked plane. You're like, maybe that's where you should shop.
I think they're I think they're wrong in thinking that way. They should be thinking they've already been hacked, so they've taken precautions, and
They aren't
going to
spend another $140 million or whatever Target had to pay.
Remember
know?
a few years ago when someone died because of E. coli from Jack in the Box?
I don't.
And then there are a lot of people that wouldn't eat a Jack in the Box for a while after that. And I was thinking, they're probably the safest restaurant
ones.
in the world to eat at now. So I
You
think
only
it's
need
the
that
same
once.
type of deal. Yeah, that's right. I was going to say kind of like Ebola, but we've kind of found that that's not the case. Ebola is not necessarily a death sentence if you get it.
Well, I think the part is their health care over there, and they don't have the facilities, and they don't have a way of decomposing the bodies, and people don't trust the government over there.
Yeah, they don't trust it here either.
No, but they think they've been lying. I mean, my sister-in-law from Sierra Leone, she said they thought the government was making this up.
Wait a minute.
What?
You have a
I
sister-in-law
told you that
from Sierra Leone.
Well, actually,
I guess maybe it didn't register.
Yeah, my nephew. Actually, it's my nephew. Whatever you call her, my niece-in-law. Yeah, his wife is from Sierra Leone. She went there in June. I told you this. You'd never listen to me.
What?
But she went to visit her mom because her dad died. She went back for the funeral, and I said, Millie, you got out in the nick of time because this was right when it was all starting.
I guess it didn't register.
But I asked her about it, and she said it was more in the rural areas, and people didn't believe the government because it's so corrupt, and they thought it was a conspiracy or whatever. They didn't trust it. They didn't take precautions. And even now, I said, how's your mom doing? She goes, oh, she's fine. She's away. She goes, it's no big deal. She's not going to get it. They're very calm about it.
Wow.
I said, you're lucky you got back.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to know that you have either been everywhere or you have relatives from there.
Sierra Leone. Yeah. She's very interesting. It's lovely. But I thought, wow, in June. And that's when it all started. I said, you get out in the nick of time.
Well, before we get to Steve Millington, just wanted to add a Nampa man has pleaded guilty to 1 count of delivery of a controlled substance after being investigated by Nampa police. Mark Lee Waller posted an ad on Craigslist offering to trade or sell marijuana under the categories for sale and wanted and video game by owner. That's the way to do it. Just put an ad on Craigslist.
Marketing is everything.
It is.
So I think he's a marketing genius.
He must be.
There was just one flaw in the problem.
We'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story.
The Democrats' secular progressive move, political correctness is killing us too. They want to take the money from the hard-working man and give it to the lazy folks that don't give a damn. Democrats and liberals, shame on you. Don't punish us all, just to please a few. You're holding people back while we're picking up the slack, and that's why we can't vote for a Democrat. Oh no, oh no, no, no.
Well, once Once again, whenever you hear that, you know we have Steve Millington with us of the Twin Falls Republicans. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice
my favorite song of the whole week.
That's pathetic.
That's probably the only song you have on your iPod, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that is. That's exactly right. And I'm trying to figure out.
I would like to know if you have an iPod. There's no way.
I do have a smartphone.
That's not an iPod.
Well, you can store
I
music
can store
on it,
music
though.
in that also, you know.
And do you?
The problem is that the phone is so much smarter than the user that we have a conflict. But I'm figuring, I went to my 8-year-old grandson and he said, Papa, you just do this and this and
There
this.
you go.
Right.
Boom,
There you
away we
go.
go.
I know.
We're good.
The younger, the better they
Yep,
are with that stuff.
That's right. I've got a 3-year-old that can play games on it, and I don't even know where the games are.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, how did Rock the Vote go? I guess you had a Rock the Vote event in the city park last weekend.
Last Saturday, lots of rock music.
Is that your favorite?
Oh, yeah, right. Not really.
Who put on the event?
You know, I think it was under the name of MC Productions, but you got me to disadvantage on that, Jill. I'm going from memory, but I think it was MC Productions. Not quite as many people there as I had hoped for, but we did have people wandering through, you know, just kind of a flow of traffic. The Republicans had 2 booths set up there, and we had 3 or 4 classic cars and a couple of big motorcycles. And
Were you registering people to vote?
yes, everybody was registering, and the Democrats had a booth, and they had all of their people here. So, and everybody got a chance to get up and talk a little bit. You know, my name is so-and-so, and I'm running for this office, and away they went.
Oh.
So it was, and the thing that was really most comfortable, it was a beautiful, unbelievable, beautiful fall day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Just amazing.
We have had a great October.
Yes,
so
we
far.
have.
Till
Yes, we have.
today.
Till today. And even today isn't bad.
Is it supposed to get better
It's
this
45.
week?
Yes, it's supposed to warm up again,
Yeah.
I think, and back up into the 70s. So.
By the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
By the farmer's market?
Yeah.
Maybe if I make two 8-quarts, it'll rain. If I only make one, it doesn't.
That's true.
Funny how that works.
That could very well be. I guess you have a debate coming up here soon.
Well, we got a whole bunch of debates. Actually, we've got a huge list of debates. We do have one tonight in Gooding at the Gooding High School, and all of the candidates in Legislative District 26 will be having a debate. And District 26 is Gooding County, Camas County, Blaine County, and Lincoln County, which is the city of Shoshone, if you're kind of wondering where Lincoln County is. And they're going to have a debate tonight at the Gooding High School. They have Republican Representative Steve Miller is challenged by Dick Fosbury, and Senator Michelle Stennett is challenged by Republican Dale Everson, and Representative Donna Pence is challenged by Republican Don Hudson. So that's tonight at the Gooding High School from 6 to 7.
All right.
All of those between 6 to 7?
Yeah, well, they're going to just split it up amongst the 3 races. Now, we also have some other interesting debates. There is one also tonight, Tuesday, October 22nd, on Idaho Public Television. And this is the race for Superintendent of Public Instruction, featuring GOP candidate Sherry Ybarra, and her opposition is Jana Jones. And that's tonight on public television.
They've had about 3 or 4, right?
And I think is public television 13, channel
Yeah.
13? It is,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right, okay.
Wait,
got
can we
that
just
right.
go back to Shelly Ybarra 1 second?
No. And then we have
the
this
fact
Friday
does it
night.
not, no, seriously.
This Friday night
does it
we
not
have
bother
a
you that she hasn't
wonderful-
voted in 15 years?
This Friday night we have a wonderful event featuring Judge Janine Pirro.
Yeah, we promoted that yesterday. Yeah, we did.
And so we got that. And then we have on Sunday, October 26th, second congressional district debate featuring Mike Simpson and Richard Stallings, and that will also be on Idaho Public Television. Then we have the governor's debate on Thursday, October 30th, and that also is Idaho Public Television, and that's from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, October 30th.
Are these new debates, or are these the ones
No.
just re-recorded?
No, these
or re-airing the ones they recorded already?
The Idaho Public Television debates are live broadcasts from PBS, Public
Yeah.
So the ones they've had were from
the ones previously,
League of Women Voters or something?
The League of Women Voters is participating with Idaho Public Television on this debate on the 30th, and it will be a live broadcast from their studio. So we've got lots of debates coming up.
All right, we got a break right now. When we come back, we'll ask you if it bothers you that Shelley Ybarra hasn't voted since 1996. This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. 736-0300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Before we get back to our conversation with Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans, wanted to remind you the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment in Twin Falls, they come on down. They've got chainsaws and they've got leaf blowers. And the two items that you're going to be purchasing or interested in this fall, those are probably them right there. The chainsaws to go out and get your winter firewood or trim up some trees around the homestead, or leaf blowers. Everybody is going to want leaf blowers, and it's so much easier than with a rake. I can remember back on the farm when I was a kid, we had poplar trees, and they grew leaves literally as big as dinner plates. And you'd make about 3 swaths with the rake, and you had a pile. And then you had to put them on the pickup. But then you had to carry them up to the corral and put them in the corrals and empty them out. It took forever to rake leaves. I hated that job. To this day, I let the leaves blow over on the neighbors' fields. But at any rate,
you're the one.
I digress.
You're the one.
A leaf blower. An Echo leaf blower from Clearwater Power Equipment can fix all of your problems.
And so much easier.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yes.
All Kelly has to do is stand there and blow. He has enough hot air. Your leaves will go over to the neighbors. You don't need a leaf blower. You are a leaf blower.
You'd be better off to go to, what is it, Clearwater Power?
Yeah, Clearwater Power Equipment.
And rent yourself an Echo leaf blower.
Yeah, or buy one.
Buy one.
Just buy
Yeah,
one.
buy one.
Buy it. Put it on the shelf. Use it 2 or 3 times.
I have one that I use to blow out the sawdust out of my shop, and it works slick. Oh, yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. That'd be
there
great.
You go. See there, yeah.
Whoa.
Talk about dusting.
Yes.
All right, Clearwater Power Equipment. They are at 252 Washington Street, 734-7767. Leaf blowers. They're not just for leaf blowing anymore.
No.
No, they aren't.
Yeah,
They're a multi-purpose tool.
That's right.
You can blow the dust off your dogs. Okay, go on.
All righty.
All right.
Well, hey, okay, so Shelley Ybarra admitted she hasn't voted since 1996. I know that bothers some people.
Yeah, and probably on the surface it should. Now, the fact that she has lived in Mountain Home since 96, I think.
Yeah.
In one community, not really too many good reasons why you would not go register and get out and vote. That is a faux pas on her part, and she's going to have to.
She's had a few
faux
pas, as you say it, faux pas. The thing of it is I think you're in education. The Luna laws were a huge deal a few years ago. I mean, to not even participate in what would affect you, your school, your salary, whatever, even for or against, doesn't matter which way you voted. The fact that you're not even part of that discussion and that's your profession, I'm shocked. I am shocked. And you're running for office and you haven't voted since 96?
You know, one of the things that, when we talk about voting, one of the things that's really interesting is that this is considered to be a, quote, off-year election because we do not have a national presidential race. And so it's what is referred to as an off-year election. In off-year elections, we don't get that many, our voter turnout is not exemplary.
Yeah.
It's just seems to be, I refer to it as a little too casual. Just a little too casual. Get out and vote.
I think it's pathetic.
You know, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Yeah. Well, and I just have one comment to make about Shelley Ybarra. Could it be possible that she was more interested in her job and educating the kids than she was about climbing the Republican ladder, unlike her opponent who has been climbing the Democrat ladder
forever
since she's been in the business?
Wait, I'm sorry. Voting doesn't mean climbing a ladder.
Hey,
voting is your civic duty.
I'm just saying.
And when you're in education and you can't even vote on the laws that are going to affect
Janet Jones
you.
had not voted for that long, you would have been justifying her move.
No, I would not have. Don't say that
Right.
because I always talk about the importance of voting, and I don't think Steve would would be so gracious. The other thing that just came out was about her marriage and her divorce. Somehow she glossed over that she was married before, and because she had an interview with the which reporter, I don't know which one who wrote this, but she said she interviewed her, asked her about her marriage, blah blah blah. She failed to mention that she'd been married before, and then when she was asked, this is her quote: "My brain doesn't operate in the past," she said. She said she was vague on her first marriage. She said she doesn't recall exactly how long she was married, doesn't know precisely when she was divorced. I'm sorry, who says my brain does not operate in the past? Does that mean, A, she's not a history teacher? But I'm sorry, but who says that?
Well,
is she trying to lose? And how can she still be up in the polls? That's my question.
Isn't that interesting? Because
she's an R behind her name.
A pretty good lead in the polls, actually.
Yeah.
Are you not Are you surprised?
Come
on.
My brain doesn't dwell too much in the past.
Oh, stop.
And so from that standpoint, everybody wants to go back and dredge up the junk from the past. Nobody wants to look at the current. Nobody even wants to think about tomorrow. But we all seem to have this fixation on dredging up the past so that we can
when you ask someone,
just beat people to death.
When have you been married? You don't say, well, I've been married before. I say I've been married before. I mean, I was married before.
Well,
for 3 years. Kelly was married before.
I've been married before and still and current and look forward to forever.
Okay. Does your brain work in the past? Do you not think of anything in the past? I don't know. I just think it's terrible.
We got a caller here. Top story. You're on the air with Steve Millington.
Good morning, Steve.
Hey.
Back there.
Who is it?
I just wanted to say that it doesn't matter.
Really?
The voting record that's the least we need to be looking at.
Right.
The key here is that she's not a politician, she's an educator. And that's what we need. We need to get people who know where the rubber meets the road in these offices. That's our problem with government. We got a government full of politicians, and we need government with people who are willing to dig in and go to work with what they have. The other side of that coin is we can't afford any more liberal views in our education. The big deal on this, we're the lowest spending state. That's ridiculous, but maybe we're the most frugal state. I just get so frustrated with people that bring up all these side issues that really mean nothing when it comes to
running education,
what they're going to accomplish and what they're going to do. What we know about Jones is the liberal side of that is more money, and that means more taxpayer money. That means we're going to have to spend more, and that's not always the answer. Maybe our teachers need a little more money. Maybe we need to put a little less money into architects that redesign every single school that we build in the state. There's a whole bunch of things we can look at to save some money and put it towards our teachers. But for heaven's sakes, let's drop the petty side stuff. Let's talk about the issue.
I don't think that's petty at all. I think when we had some of the biggest, most contentious education laws a few years ago, and you're in education, and you don't even vote for or against to put your point of view in there, I am sorry. I think that's negligent, and I think if Jana Jones hadn't voted since '96, I don't think you guys would all be so magnanimous how it's no big issue. Are you kidding me? I think that's a character flaw.
There's one thing about that struck in my mind. Absolutely. Well, it doesn't just stick there. It is a pinnacle of comparisons between Ibarra and Jana Jones, and that is that Jana Jones maintains that if she wins the superintendent of public instruction position, everything will be dominated from the Boise office. And Ibarra says the local school districts are where we take care of education. So the big stark difference between the two is one wants to send the education process back to the local school districts, which in my opinion is exactly where we want it. The other one wants to consolidate everything in Boise so she can control it all. And that's the liberal Democrat mentality of big government. We're going to control everything. You don't have any say, versus the individual who says we will round up all the money we can and give it to the local school districts, and within certain guidelines, you run your own program. The local school districts is where we have the greatest and most important impact on education, not from the state government.
Do we have a caller?
Yeah, we got a caller. Top story. You're on the air with Steve Millington.
Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, lovely Jill.
Good morning.
Steve. Steve, I don't understand this. It's just, let's stop casting people with names, and this is what they are, and this is what they do. But your party over there in Kentucky is criticizing the female that's going up against, what's his name?
Mitch McConnell?
Yes, because she doesn't want to tell them that who she voted for. But yet, Ibarra doesn't vote, and it's like, oh, no, we cannot dwell on the past. We cannot dwell on the past. And also, two things. Kelly, you're going to go to Social Security, and usually all the conservative ways of doing is giving the money back to the state. Would you be comfortable receiving the same amount of money from the federal government as you would do the state, and the state is also going broke? Thank you.
I don't even understand that.
I missed that one too.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sometimes
but
his phone isn't that clear, and I think it's cell phones.
So anyway, did you want to respond to that?
I haven't been following the Kentucky race at all. I know that Mitch
You're
McConnell
kidding.
has got a very hard campaign, and I don't even remember his opponent's
Allison
name.
Lundergren Grimes.
She wouldn't say if she voted for Obama or not.
Yeah, she avoided
So-
that question completely because she cannot afford to take the risk of being identified with Obama.
Well, I think that's the Republican strategy right now. I mean,
Well, the Democrats are the one avoiding.
Yeah, that's
It's not
no.
a Republican issue.
Can you
the
let
Democrats
me
are
let me
avoiding.
finish my sentence about making them go on record? Because Ron Crane's only question directed to
boy.
Deb Silver was, "Who did you vote for in 2008 and 2012?" It's like, what Republican genius saying, "Oh, ask him that so we have it on the record." It's like, oh my gosh. Anyway,
Let's
go
go
on.
back to phones. Top story. You're on the air with Steve Millington.
Good morning. Out of due respect for Steve Billings, Jill, please shut up.
You know what? You are so rude. I don't tell you
That's
to,
okay.
to shut
I
up.
just cut it out. I cut it out.
Can I get one more thing?
Yes, you
before
can.
we go
Absolutely.
away?
Yeah, go ahead.
We got more phone calls, but
Yeah.
the bus tour, the Republican bus tour, started a week ago and went through North Idaho. This week, they are in Eastern Idaho. Today's Tuesday. I think they're going to be in what we call the Upper Snake River Valley. That's Rexburg, Ashton, St. Anthony. Wednesday, they'll be in Idaho Falls. Thursday, they're going to be in Eastern Idaho, Pocatello, Blackfoot, McCammon, Soda Springs. And on Friday, we will have the GOP bus tour in Twin Falls, Idaho. Friday morning at 8:30, they will be at the GOP headquarters at 525 Blue Lakes Boulevard North. At 9:30, they'll be at the Wright Physical Therapy Building in Kimberly. They will be at Logan's Market in Filer at 10:30. The Body Works in Buell at 11 o'clock. In Jerome at noon o'clock at the Prescott Craig Insurance Building. Shoshone, the Community Center at 1:30. They'll be at Wendell at the Farmhouse Restaurant at about 2:30. They'll be in Glens Ferry from 3:30 until 3:45. And that's because they have to be in Boise at 5 o'clock to participate in the homecoming thing at Boise
parade.
State University, homecoming parade at Boise State University Friday night. So
Steve, who pays for the bus tour?
the candidates take from their campaign funds and put it into the bus
They
tour.
put it together?
And it's all seven of them. We got Otter and Little and Lawrence Denny and Brandon Wolf, controller, Ron Crane, Lawrence Wasden, Attorney General, Sherry Ibarra. We know that we'll have Mike Simpson. Senator Risch is in Washington part of this week. They hope he'll be back Friday to hit Twin Falls and Boise. But there was no firm guarantee that he would be here. But the rest of them will all be here, and we'll have all of our local candidates, the Legislative District 23 people, the 24, 25. We'll sure have some from 26. The local county races, those candidates will all be present. We're going to have breakfast. We're going to have hot scones and juice and coffee, and right there at 525 Blue Lakes Boulevard North.
All right.
8 o'clock. We'll be there by 8 o'clock. So come on over and get a chance to visit with all your Republican candidates.
All right. Very
Sounds
good.
like a fabulous time.
All All right. Well, we're going to ask you about Signgate if that thing has been resolved yet. But we're out of time.
We haven't heard any more about it.
Okay.
We do have signs that are still show up missing, but we find them in a lot of dumpsters.
What do you mean that people are stealing? I'm hearing it all around that people are stealing them.
Yeah.
They just pick them up and throw them in a dumpster.
Yeah, just pranksters.
I think it's just pranks.
I don't think they're pranksters. I've heard a few things behind the scenes. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you're holding out on us again.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, thanks,
Shame
Steve.
on you.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
You bet.
Bye,
We have
Steve.
Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs this next hour here on Top Story. Welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call.
Welcome back, Cotter. Kind of sounded like that.
Welcome back. Yeah. And
you trying to find Grant's theme song?
I am, and it's gone now.
Oh, stop.
It's gone.
You know what, Grant?
I don't know what to
He's
say.
just, he's like a horse to the barn. He sees
You
December
can just hum it.
31st.
All right, that's okay.
How about this one? We can do this one.
That has a lot of negative
How
connotations
about the
right
cop
now.
song?
Let's leave that. Let's leave that.
You know,
out.
it's interesting that the cop bump has never disappeared.
It hasn't. Yeah.
Why don't
Nor
you hit
has
that
the
one?
GOP song. I could
Yeah,
always play
very
the GOP
interesting.
song.
Why don't you hit the cop one? There you go.
I guess I
Yeah,
could do
why
that.
not?
Yeah, he
There you go.
kind of falls into that position.
Why not? Grant, I guess you're a bad boy. Twin Falls County Prosecutor. There
Grant,
you go.
Yep, Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. Nice to have you back, sir. It's been about a month or so now.
It's been about a month.
I guess it usually is about a month.
Usually it's once a month.
Well, we got, actually, we came up with quite a list of stuff this morning to talk about once Jill was able to go through her little pile of stuff.
I
Because
usually
we keep
keep 'em,
stuff, think,
yeah.
oh, that'd be great to ask Grant.
And I write on here, ask
Kind of the
Grant.
house cleaning session here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have a month of material
Well,
to go
you're
on,
supposed to be tracking stuff. I
know,
mean,
but,
come on. It's your segment.
I have a job that takes some of my time.
I'd like, and the dog ate my
to
homework.
spend most of the time, working to make your show successful. But I figure there are two of you on that.
Well, you said you wanted to be on
Well,
once a month.
we
There you
appreciate
go.
the thought.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I try to think of things
Try to backpedal
that are
here.
important. And I did send Kelly an email with, and I sent one to you too, Jill. But I guess by the time I get up, you guys were already on the air. So
Yeah, we were already
A little
in the
late
cockpit
at that point.
here.
Yeah.
So, but at any rate, first thing we wanted to talk about is a citizen's arrest. That's something that is thrown around quite a bit. How does a citizen's arrest make a citizen's arrest? Is it easy? Is it hard?
Because this went back
And
to...
what are the ramifications?
Well,
It's
this
not
went back.
really-
Well, Grant, this went back to the Wolf and Wildlife Action Group,
That's
who
right.
wanted
Those
to
people
do a
came in
citizen
to
arrest for
arrest
yeah,
Otter.
for the governor. That's
Otter.
right. That's right.
So then it made us think about how do you do a citizen's arrest?
what was the deal?
Can
He
you?
wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. He
He-
waited till 1, and they showed up at 2.
So they said,
okay.
we're going to come and arrest you. And then they were late. And so he said, I'm not going to wait around all day to be arrested.
Did
And
you
he
give
left
someone a
and
notice
actually
for a citizen's
did
arrest?
some government work or something.
How does someone make a citizen's arrest?
Well, it's not as easy as it might sound. I mean, I guess you can just say I'm a citizen and you're under arrest for the following crimes, but you have to, take them into custody, and that means that they might fight you on it, which means you might have to use force, which means you better be really certain that what you're doing is right, because you might be arrested if you assault or batter somebody while you're trying to arrest them.
Could you handcuff them and just keep them in the back of your car?
At the risk of false imprisonment or kidnapping, if you're wrong, yeah, you can. But I mean, the citizen's arrest is generally made by, say, a shopkeeper who sees somebody shoplifting and restrains somebody until the police come or something. But to expand that to I'm just kind of a policeman without a badge and I'm wandering the streets at night, like the Shadow, looking for people who are doing something wrong. I think that's
you
a
ran
risky
red
thing
light
to
or
do.
something, yeah.
Yeah, because while if you make a legal arrest of a person who's actually committing an offense, that's fine, provided you don't use excessive force to do it.
Have you ever had anyone do a citizen's arrest since you've been in office or in the office?
It's possible that I have. I can't remember. Nothing really stands out. It wouldn't have been anything major, but with the exception of course, a lot of shopkeepers and people at some of the stores in town will restrain and hold a shoplifter, until the police arrive.
And that's okay to do.
But that's pretty much the extent of of it usually. Um, the law is the law, and there are a lot of things in the law that
Do you have to identify
that are
yourself as someone other than
risky.
a citizen? I mean, it would hold water if, say, you saw someone in the middle of a crime and they were able to.
Say you're committing a crime. I'm arresting you. I'm holding you until the police arrive. I mean, that's essentially
What you
there
do.
aren't any magic words because
Okay.
it's not listed out. There's no policy.
Okay.
Like, when police arrest somebody, there's a policy.
Right.
The police department has a policy on how you do it. There's training on how to do it. When a citizen arrests somebody, the statutes don't list out a policy on how to do it. Just says that anybody can arrest somebody for a criminal offense, but again, that's why we have police. It's best to call the police if you think that
Well,
somebody.
since everybody's got a smartphone now, you can always take pictures of the crime in
That's
progress,
true.
which
That's
would really
true.
help, I suppose.
But you just the police don't want to be wrong when they arrest somebody,
Right.
but you certainly don't want to be wrong as a citizen because you don't have any immunity from acting in
Yeah.
good faith. If you beat somebody up or restrain somebody or lock somebody up and they're not guilty of anything, you're the one who's going to be charged.
Well, and then also the police can only do so much if you see something and report it to them. I know a lot of times somebody will call in, somebody's weaving back and forth on the interstate and almost ran somebody off the road, and they want the cop to pick them up and do something about it, but they can't if the reporting party won't be there to sign the complaint.
Right,
Because the cop didn't see it
the
happen.
policeman didn't see it.
Right. So,
Okay.
I mean, it all boils down in that sense to what the policeman can testify to. I mean, he can't just make an arrest of somebody without any evidence. He can go to the scene where somebody says there's somebody swerving around, and if he
Yeah.
sees the person swerving around, then that's fine. Then he can say, I reported to this scene because I got a tip that somebody was swerving around. I saw them swerving. I stopped them. They smelled of alcohol. They failed the field sobriety tests and so forth. But he can't just arrest somebody and say, you were reckless driving back there. Well, how do you know? Well, we got an anonymous tip.
yeah.
When I think of it, I look at what evidence can be presented to a judge or to a jury. And in that case, the answer would be none because the policeman didn't see anything and the witness is no longer available. So, and that's, of course, true for police and it's true for citizens. I mean, you can't just arrest somebody and then say, well, I arrested them. Well, what's the proof
Yeah.
of what they did wrong?
Well, and that kind of leads us into the next topic, and that is eyewitnesses and just how reliable are eyewitnesses and how much credibility can you give eyewitnesses?
That was the story today in the Times News, and you were quoted, Mr. Loebs.
I was, yes. I was called and asked to make comment about some of the issues swirling around eyewitness identification now. And I mean, the same is true of eyewitness evidence as is true of all evidence. It's a tool. It's a piece of the puzzle. You use it in conjunction with other evidence. You should not rely on eyewitness as testimony any more than you would anything else to be the entirety of the case. That doesn't mean, though, that eyewitness testimony should be thrown out. There are ways to check the credibility of an eyewitness, and you check it by, comparing one eyewitness to other eyewitnesses, comparing eyewitnesses to physical evidence, comparing eyewitnesses to statements maybe by the defendant, comparing eyewitnesses to, DNA, comparing them to, everything is cross-checked. Everything needs to be corroborated, and so does physical evidence. I mean, you can't convict somebody. Well, you shouldn't convict somebody just on nothing but a fingerprint. I mean, there may be an innocent explanation for a fingerprint. You have to put it together with everything else to paint an entire picture. And as I said, I think in the paper, you need to be skeptical as an investigator or as a prosecutor of the evidence that's gathered. You need to look at it and you need to say to yourself, what is the explanation that argues for the innocence of this person? And you need to look at that. And if after you do that exercise and you corroborate the evidence, it's the bulk of the evidence and the whole picture is that they are guilty, then you assemble a case based on a wide cross section of evidence. The eyewitness, the challenge to eyewitness identification is being made primarily by the Innocence Project throughout the nation, and they have a number of different ideas that they want to suggest to, as they say, make eyewitness testimony more credible. The problem is that a number of those are designed to make eyewitness testimony unusable. And it is usable. It just needs to be corroborated.
Because for a long time there, before we had all the DNA testing and things like that, a lot, people have been in jail and then they've done the DNA and then they realize it wasn't their DNA and then they've, been released. Prior, because they did depend pretty heavily, a lot of cases, on just one eyewitness or whatever, and there would be problems there. How do you think we could make it better? I guess just using all the tools that they have, but has DNA testing been one of the biggest tools to help confirm someone was part of a crime?
Yes, but we have to also be wary of that. I mean, we hear a lot about so-called exonerations, and sometimes that's what they are. Sometimes it actually is true that a person is not guilty and has been convicted. And DNA has helped to locate some of those. And frankly, most of the DNA exonerations are based on either attorney general's offices or prosecutors' offices who have policies of re-examining cases when new DNA tests are available.
Right.
So it's not like all these people are convicted by mean prosecutors and federal U.S. attorneys, and some crusading person comes up and finds out that they're not guilty. It's usually the same people or the same offices that do the convicting that re-examine and find out that, in fact, based on a new test that wasn't available at the time, this person is not guilty. But the danger of using DNA, and this is why you have to corroborate everything, DNA won't necessarily prove that somebody didn't do something. It proves, what it proves is that the DNA did not come from the person who's convicted. But that doesn't mean the person who's convicted didn't have anything to do with the crime. We have, some cases where there are two perpetrators and there's DNA on the body or on the victim or, maybe even fingerprints, something like that. But the fingerprints or the DNA are for one of the people and not from the other. That doesn't mean that the other is not guilty. It just means that that person's not the source of the DNA. So with exonerations, as with convictions, you have to look at the whole picture. And what Jill said is correct to some degree, that before the DNA era, a lot of convictions were based on eyewitness testimony, but they should have been based on other information as well that helped corroborate the eyewitness testimony. So it
kind of was like the O.J. Simpson that sort of brought DNA to the forefront, really. You didn't hear too much about, remember that? The big thing with Barry, what was his name? Barry,
I can't remember.
Remember he was the expert on DNA, and then all of a sudden it seemed like, how long ago was that trial?
I don't remember.
2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, no kidding. We have Twin Falls County
Prosecutor.
Prosecutor
Last time there was a white Bronco.
Grant Loebs here with us this morning on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs with us. We have a caller waiting to ask a question. And we have this. Yesterday's $100 instant winning name. The word of the day brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant, which you just heard me talking about.
Kelly's favorite place of all time.
It is. And you can go there, and if you're a first-time visitor and you, like I just said, if you're a first-time visitor and you purchase a drink of some sort, they'll give you a free piece of pie.
Well, you have to mention you heard it on the show.
And you mentioned you heard it on the show.
With Kelly and Joe, you get a free piece of pie. Doesn't that sound like a plan Kelly would come up with?
And that's homemade pie.
Homemade pie.
That's not this store-bought stuff.
No.
I mean, that's homemade.
Homemade.
Yeah, that's right. Happy Landing Restaurant at the Twin Falls Airport, and you don't have to be flying anywhere to eat at the airport.
No.
Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Elaine Gordon.
Elaine Gordon, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is party.
Party.
Partay. Actually, party. P-A-R-T-Y. Go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on word of the day. Type in party. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word of the day today, you win $100 just like that. So we have a caller for the prosecutor. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I had a question correct me if I'm wrong, but in the state of Idaho, why do we consider battery a misdemeanor and breaking and entering a felony? I mean, wouldn't be, maybe I'm incorrect in my understanding of that.
Well, battery is a misdemeanor unless you use a weapon or cause great bodily harm, in which case it's a felony and it's called aggravated battery. Breaking and entering is a misdemeanor unless, it's a burglary and you break and enter it with the intent of doing a felony or harming someone or stealing something. So, there are grades of these crimes depending upon seriousness where they're both misdemeanor and felony. I mean, both types of crime have misdemeanor and felony aspects to them.
So aggravated battery would be.
Did you have this through personal experience?
No, I would just, as I look at, the stuff that comes up in the paper, and I go, well, why isn't that more serious? Striking someone is not more serious than just breaking into their house. But explaining that there's different grades of that, and then that answers my question.
All right, very good.
I can strike somebody and cause virtually no damage. If I'm in a fight, or if I were to punch Kelly here with just my fist and do virtually no damage, by that that would be a battery. If I hit him with a metal bar, or if I broke his jaw, or if I knocked him out, knocked him backwards, and he fell and hit his head and had brain damage, then that would be a felony. But merely hitting somebody isn't a felony.
And that's what's interesting, because the case I was on in the jury, we had a big discussion. I was only a holdout for aggravated battery, and they were all battery, but the guy broke 12 bones in the guy's face. And they're like, that's just...
That would be an aggravated battery.
I was the only one who thought that, and I would still be holding out today. It was very frustrating, because someone said, well, I was in a trial and they had a broken jaw. It's like, okay, now you're 4 inches higher and you have 12 bones. What's the difference? Well, it's very subjective once you're in there.
It's up to the jury to decide what is great bodily harm. There's nothing in, or a deadly weapon even.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the statute that says that, a cut over the eye is great bodily harm. A broken nose is great bodily harm. That's up to the jury to decide that. But if the jury decides that there's either a deadly weapon used or great bodily harm caused or permanent disfigurement, then the jury gets to decide that question.
It's
That's
really
the ultimate
difficult,
question.
yeah.
But a jury could decide a broken nose is not great bodily harm or permanent disfigurement, especially if you're already ugly. I mean, what's the damage?
There you go.
If it helps your nose,
maybe it
is that
improved
okay? Because then you had a rhinoplasty. But it can be very frustrating
but,
too.
It is frustrating for us too, because we think, well, this is clearly great bodily harm. We got several bones broken in their face.
And the hospital can't work for 2 weeks.
Say, that's not that big a deal.
I broke a bone once. You're like, really? 12?
I mean, that's what the jury's there for, to make those calls. If everything was just lined out, there wouldn't be any need for juries sometimes.
In that case,
I've heard some say it's not a justice system, it's a legal system. And justice is not always meted out.
Well, it depends what the definition of justice is. Justice can be defined as giving everybody an equal and fair treatment under the system. And justice doesn't necessarily mean always catching the bad guy and always punishing the bad guy for what he did wrong, because sometimes we can't prove that he is in fact the bad guy up to the level of proof that's required under the law. And so, a victim may walk away from that thinking, well, that's not justice. And they have a point. But the fact is that the system is designed to give a just process to everybody involved. And, if the prosecutor and the police are unable to gather enough evidence and prove it to a jury, then, even though we sometimes are disappointed in the verdict, we can't say it's not a just system. Unless, of course, the system breaks down and starts behaving in an unjust way.
Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs, our guest this morning here on Top Story. We'll be right back. 736-0300, the number to call. What? Did I miss something?
Yeah, it's a shame you can't hear when those things are on your head.
What?
Exactly.
We'll be back with Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs here in just a moment. But first, I wanted to tell you about Certiset. which is no more moving pipe, no spraying borders around the field, no more costly labor to move pipe. This is pipe that you put out in the field, and once it's there, it's there. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, I am not an expert in Certiset, but I know who is. The folks at Far More of Idaho. And you can give them a call. You can ask them about Certiset. And this might be something you want to look into since our irrigation season is kind of winding down now for the season. This might be something you want to consider for next year. Give them a call at 324-3341. You can catch them online at farmoreofidaho.com. Good morning. You are on the air with Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. How are you today?
I'm good. I have a question. I just was in the jail, and there was, I personally wasn't in jail. I was in the waiting room. Anyway, there was a guy who was being bailed out of there, and the bail bondsman, I talked to her, and she said that you guys don't allow them to put up advertisements or anything in the jail for the inmates to be able to call. This guy then, when he came out, said he'd been in there since last Thursday, and he was arraigned, but he's from out of state. He didn't know how to get a hold of a bondsman until a few of the other inmates told him who to call. Why don't you allow them to do that?
Where's the public service here?
You know,
Brett?
I have no idea. That would be something you'd have to ask the sheriff and the jail supervisor. I don't know the policy on advertisements for bail bonds.
Well, it does kind of make sense.
You know, people, I mean, I suppose there might be a problem in that there might be 100 advertisements in there. It's just plastered all over, and I don't know where they would be put. But
maybe they could have like a little welcome wagon basket, and when an inmate came in, have some cookies and some business cards.
And I don't know about this particular case that the lady's calling about, but you know, people manage to find the bail bondsman pretty regularly, and
but if you're not from here, I could understand. Everyone acts like everyone knows everything out here.
Call County Sheriff Tom Carter. He might give you some light on that.
Well, I was just headed home and heard you guys on the air, and I thought maybe he might know, because I wondered about that.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's been in there since Thursday. He's from Washington.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it takes him until Tuesday to get out of jail. Anyway.
All right. Well, give the sheriff a call and see if maybe he can shed some light on that.
Maybe they can make some money on the advertising.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like advertising, putting on the back of a restroom stall.
God bless America.
You're there.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk for a minute about this is kind of ironic. It's always seemed ironic to me that suicide is illegal.
In all 50 states.
In all 50 states, which I guess would include Idaho.
We are a state, I guess.
So if suicide is illegal and you are not successful in it, then you're charged with a crime.
Have you ever charged anyone who was...
You could be charged with a crime. Now, to say then you're charged with a crime makes it sound like that actually happens. I'm not aware of that ever happening. I think that somebody who attempts to commit suicide and fails has bigger problems that we as a community should help them with than whether they should be held responsible for a failed suicide attempt. And most people who attempt to commit suicide do so because there's something really wrong, and the attempt of law enforcement at that point is to try to help them with that problem. Take them to Canyon View or to some place where they can get treatment. Prosecution of people who attempt suicide is not high on the list of priorities of any law enforcement agency that I know of.
Why is it still a law in the books then, especially in all 50 states? It's interesting.
That is a question for your legislators.
There's so many questions I have for my legislators. But
I think it's just because suicide is such a bad and harmful and devastating thing to so many people, family, obviously the person who does it. And I think the legislature wants to be on record saying it's a bad thing. But that doesn't mean, there are laws on the books that are rarely prosecuted, and this would be pretty much near the top of those.
it just, I don't know, I get to thinking about some of these philosophical things at times, And so I remember I had a friend a few years ago who found out he had cancer. And I know some people, when they have cancer, they commit suicide because they don't want to put their family through that. But he didn't. He just let it go until it killed him, which essentially is suicide. Now,
well, the interesting thing is a successful suicide is completely legal in all 50 states. So you have to be successful at it. Because a dead corpse cannot be charged with a crime and brought into court. So there you go.
Well, it's pretty much pointless to prosecute someone who's dead
You
for any
think?
crime.
It seems like the law is a little strange.
When we come
For
back,
suicide or anything else.
when we come back, we're going to find out how the marijuana laws in Colorado are affecting many other states right here on Top Story. We're back at Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. Good time to ask questions. 736-0300, the number to call.
Free legal advice right here.
That's right.
5 cents. Actually, we don't even charge.
No, we don't.
It's really good legal advice.
The only thing might be charged is if it costs you to make a call on your phone or something. But I know the state of Colorado recently legalized marijuana and such, and when it first happened, they were coming out and they were bragging about all the tax money they were getting and how many things have gotten better. But we a lot of times don't hear about the downside, especially in relationship to other states. And I was just mentioning to Jill before the show that since marijuana is legal in Colorado, a lot of people driving through Idaho think that they're in good shape, that they don't have to worry about it. But that's not the case. And what are some of the other downsides that you were talking about?
Right. We get we have several states around us that have various forms of decriminalization of marijuana. From the most extreme, Colorado, where recreational drugs are legal and encouraged and advertised, and they have competitions on who can make the best marijuana brownie and such. And Washington, which is a little less than that, and then, of course, California that has the medical marijuana. And since the very first one of those states first, started down that road, we have seen people come into Idaho saying, "Hey, you can't arrest me. I've got my medical marijuana card from, San Francisco." And of course, that's not a legal excuse, and that medical marijuana card does you no good in Idaho because we don't recognize it. But more serious than that is the industry that has now been created in Colorado, where there are new entrepreneurial millionaires being created in the marijuana industry who a couple of years ago we would have just called stoners or something, and now they are being encouraged by the Colorado law to create new and more potent forms of marijuana, because people think of marijuana and they think, well, back in the 60s or in the 70s or whatever, when you were a kid and you had a joint, well, it wasn't that big a deal. Well, the problem is that marijuana is much more potent now. Because it's farmed in a more progressive, more intelligent way. The THC, which is the active component in it, is much stronger now than it used to be. And then you take that and you multiply that, because in the now marijuana industry in Colorado, they are figuring out ways to make it even more potent. I was just discussing.
They're trying to make it more potent, or they don't realize what they're doing is making it more potent?
They know exactly what they're doing. That's their purpose.
The butter?
Yeah, the marijuana butter. I just was speaking with one of my prosecutors yesterday we have seen now 2 or 3 cases in Twin Falls, and we didn't know what that was. It sounds, well, what do you put it on your bread with jam and you get a little high like eating a brownie. No, it's much worse than that. It is a condensed and extremely potent condensation of the THC in marijuana, to the extent that a very small portion is equal to, smoking a marijuana joint. And the problem is that it is very small, very compact, easy to carry with you, easy to conceal, and it's more expensive in Idaho because it's illegal than it is in Colorado, where they are making quite a bit of money on it. But the illegal marijuana trade is now encouraged by the Colorado industry to create new products in Colorado and bring them into states where it's illegal, and so to sell it here. And it's harmful stuff. It's not just like, ooh, I get a mellow high or something. This can be really harmful stuff, especially for children and for people who are used to marijuana that is a lot milder. And so it creates a lot of problems. And in fact, the governor of Colorado has recently come out and said, that the marijuana legalization has caused numerous problems there that they didn't count on. More marijuana people, marijuana DUIs, more people being admitted to the emergency rooms because of marijuana, more people with serious illnesses and even life-threatening. And it's not just because they're smoking a joint, it's because they're engaging in the use of very powerful THC-related products. So, I think that some of this there's going to be some good news in this, because I think that the experiment in Colorado is going to educate legislators in places like Idaho and Utah and Nevada and Montana and places like that. And they're going to say, whoa, there's more to this than just allowing people to smoke a joint.
Is Washington having the same problems?
I haven't seen any
it's
statistics out of Washington. I'm sure they are, but Colorado has gone way, way beyond Washington in encouraging and creating a marijuana industry. And
last we heard, they were having trouble depositing their money in a bank because it violated federal laws. So they were that was a problem. They couldn't deposit all their money in a bank.
That is part of the problem, because it's still a federal crime. But, the federal law enforcement agencies have not done much to enforce it, because obviously they could wander through any park in Colorado during marijuana days and make any arrests they wanted.
Marijuana days, like wagon days.
They want more of a challenge.
You're a marketer.
But it's a serious thing. And
tell you what, we're out of time. But thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.
It's been fun coming. Thank you.
All right, here's the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed, Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. They got guns, they got camping stuff, they got fishing stuff, they got tool stuff, they got woodworking stuff, and that's just part of the stuff they have in all the stuff that they have at Canyon Pawn, Twin Falls' newest pawn shop. Stop by, say hi to Dave Hansen and the crew. Now,
we were going to do there Wednesday. We're going to do lunch and then go by.
That's right. So, Dave, if you're listening, hang tight, buddy. We're on the way. We're going to stop. Jill and I are going to stop by there and visit the store tomorrow after lunch. That's right. So, that'll be fun.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, it'll probably be 2:15, 2:30-ish or so.
That's right, because I'm taking you out for your birthday, which is Saturday.
Yeah, thank you, Jill.
Callie is turning another year, and now he's retiring.
So Dave will have the red carpet all laid out for us there.
I'm sure. So, I'll have to call ahead of time. Yeah.
Right.
And I'll bring cupcakes for any people, because it's your birthday party. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but make sure they're the special kind of cupcakes.
There's not going to be any cupcakes. Okay? I hate to break it to you,
whatever.
Yeah, no cupcakes for you.
So you can stop by Canyon Pond. It's on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota. They're at Shoshone and 3rd Avenue South.
Okay.
I stopped by there the other day and got the street number.
If you miss it,
now I know.
You don't deserve to go there because it's right there. If you miss it, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
You can't miss
Canyon Pawn. That's the place. They're online, canyonpawn.com, and also on Facebook. And you can call them 933-2600.
That's right.
Also, coming up on Halloween night, well, Halloween afternoon, I should say, it's Trick or Treat on Bishop Street once again. This will be from 3:30 to 6. You can dress up the kids. You can dress up yourself if you want in the Fred Meyer parking lot on Blue Lakes Boulevard North for trick-or-treating door-to-door in the RVs provided by Bishop's RV Supercenter. It's always a good time to be had by all. Donations are welcome. The South Central Community Action Partnership will be on site accepting donations of non-perishable food items to help local families in need. So it's going from 3:30 till 6. You'll still have plenty of time to, and it's a Friday. So, if you want to take the kids after that and go trick-or-treating until midnight, you can do that. If you want to stop at 6 o'clock and just take the kids home with their huge bag of stuff, you can do that.
The cops
So-
must be thrilled. It's on a Friday night. They're like,
Oh,
"Are
that's
you
why
kidding
they make.
me?"
That's why they make the big bucks.
Are you kidding
They look
me?
forward to this, interacting with the children on trick or treat night.
No, they do. But you know how it can get a little.
I guess.
You don't remember
Only
your
when I-
Halloween days?
It was so long ago when I trick or treated that I can't even remember how I dressed up. Actually, I think it was Casper the Friendly Ghost.
A sheet.
Every year. Yeah, just put a sheet over me and cut up a couple eyes, and that was it.
Okay.
Hey, we're done for today. Tomorrow we have the State of the City and so much more. So stay tuned for then. We'll see you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.